American businesses were very much in bed with the Nazis. IBM, Ford, so many of them were doing businesses with them.
I interviewed with so many consulting firms, and I only got a handful of offers. Like I interviewed with more than any other person. Like I think I had 20 interviews, like for an internship, which is unheard of. On average, you get 4 to 5, and you get 1 offer. I had like 20, and I had like 2 or 3 offers. Like I didn't have that many, so I was complaining to him. He just tells it to me straight. He's like, maybe they didn't like the way you looked. You only need 2 things. You need likability and competence. Those are the only 2 things you need.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Caravan Podcast. We're here continuing it off at Dallas, and joining with us today is Arshan Ahmad from Friday Ventures. Welcome to Texas.
Thank you for having me. Jazakumullah khairan.
I like your cowboy hat. Have you been getting a lot of compliments or?
Everywhere.
Alhamdulillah. No, I'm just teasing, obviously. But no, I appreciate you making the time to join us and kind of talking about the stuff you guys do at Friday. I know we had your I guess, partner in crime, Shastri. We released his episode a few weeks ago now. From the airing of this episode, technically released it today, but anyway, I just ruined the whole point there. But yeah, we're kind of excited to see your side of things and how you kind of got involved in this space of being an entrepreneur and being an investor and just your philosophy behind it. So for that, Jazakallah khairan for joining us, and so we'll get right into it. So what we really like to know before, because I think it's so incredible of all the people that we interview, is some have very similar startings and others don't. And I think it's something that's really important for us, but also our listeners, on really understanding that regardless of where you start from, you can still kind of find your way once you have like the right information and the right guidance and the right knowledge. So how did you find your positioning in this career path? Like, were your family ever pushing you in that direction, or were you always kind of this self-starter business person when you were really young? Yeah,
so I'm from Michigan, and Michigan it's in the Midwest. So Midwest is very chill, relaxed, and I was always the weird kid. Like I didn't feel like I belonged there because everyone that was there wanted to just live a pretty easy life, comfortable life, and that's not how I saw things at all. I saw things the opposite. And so growing up, there was no push whatsoever. I had to conform. And the funny thing is, I thought I was the crazy one, or I am the crazy one. That's a spoiler alert. But at the time, I thought, like, why isn't anyone, like, everyone's different than how I think about things. So a quick kind of journey. What happened was, again, I grew up in Michigan. I lived there for a long time. Like, never really traveled. We went,
Were you like Ann Arbor or like?
I was in Troy.
Okay.
Sterling Heights, and then Troy, which is north suburbs of Detroit. And I mean, pretty much my only exposure outside of that area was going to India. So my parents are from India. And so we would only, every few years, like typical for those of us who are Desi, we'd go back to our hometown and, where our parents are from, and visit the families for like the summertime. That was the only thing I saw outside of Michigan for a good, 18, 20 years. Never been outside there. I think one time we went to Chicago to get our passport or something, like our visa for India. That's it. So I actually had I didn't see the world at all. I had no idea. So, subhanAllah, what actually happened was I ended up getting married I lived in Minnesota for a little bit, kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but subhanAllah, my life actually changed drastically when I got married. So usually what people think that when you get married, you settle down, it's nothing, you can never travel anymore, you can never have fun anymore.
Now, how old were you when you got married?
I was 23.
23 years old, so like right out of college. Almost.
I graduated a year early, so
okay.
I was working for, I don't know, a year and a half or so, and then, I got married. But subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put all the barakah in my life, and this is my advice to everyone, is like, if you get married early, if you get married to the right person, you do it for the right intention, then Allah will bless you. I guarantee it, guaranteed. And so we got married, and subhanAllah, like my life totally changed. Like the ambition that I always was like kind of bottled up inside me kind of came out. We started traveling, we started doing different things. I ended up going to business school at University of Michigan Ross, like for my grad school many years later.
So you're a Wolverine guy.
I'm a Wolverine, yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I went to UT Austin, so
mashallah.
Yeah. You guys have
good public schools, man. Come on.
Yeah. You have a consistent. Your football team's much more consistent than ours. But
when I was there, they sucked. But alhamdulillah. So I had a kid, and subhanAllah, the barakah that comes with getting married, having children is like the way the world tells you is actually the opposite of what happens. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's ajib. He's very strange in the way he does things. Because again, if you look at it logically, you'll be like, okay, if I get married, that's someone I gotta pay for double everything, and I have a kid, it's a burden. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says the opposite. A child is not a burden. He's the risk. The risk comes with the child.
So when you were at that age, right, and you're wanting to get married, and people are telling you this advice, right? Like when you get married or when you have children, your barakah increases, your risk increases, right? Did you like fully believe that? And then like when it was happening, you're like, oh, this is like real.
That advice generally did not happen to me at all.
Okay.
So
As in people never gave you that advice?
Generally speaking,
okay.
So like, I mean, our culture, our Desi culture is beta PhD, master degree, you know all that stuff first.
I don't endorse this.
Yeah.
Great accent.
Yeah, incredible.
Sorry, it comes out. So
layers of trauma there.
Yeah. So and even like going around out of your race was also an issue. And so generally the advice I was getting was, no, brother, you're not ready to get married, and you should
go get
later.
your check marks.
Get the check marks, exactly. And but studying ilm, studying deen from my teachers, I mean, they're the ones. That was a small percent that said there's actually barakah in getting married. You should fulfill the sunnah, the obligation, and
the ones who actually knew the faith.
Exactly. So that barakah like really kind of pulled me through. So again, fast forwarding, what happened was I
want to pause for a second.
Sure.
I apologize here, but you mentioned that you're having advice from people of scholarship, right, of Islam, who are giving you this advice that is contrarian to your other circles. Now, did that other circle include was that like close friends and family? Like, was it your immediate family, like your parents also saying like, hey, go get your check marks and then we can talk about marriage? Or were they kind of on board as well?
It was more like let's call it society.
Okay,
I'd say, right? Because even like my friends, we all kind of got together and said like, we're all gonna get married young, and we all kind of stuck together in college. But none of us could really do it because of the societal culture.
I see.
Alhamdulillah, my parents were not really. I think Allah blessed me with parents that wasn't really that big of an issue, right? I mean, I think it started because culturally, but alhamdulillah, they got over it very quickly.
How'd you navigate that?
So I went to my parents when I was 19, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm getting married."
Okay.
That's how it started. And so, my mom like laughed me in the face. Mashallah, bless her.
Yeah.
Because, but again, she came around very quickly.
Okay.
Like very quickly. Yeah. So like again, I'm making fun of that part of it.
Right.
But I think culturally, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And so alhamdulillah, she came very quickly. Within not too long. Because she realized, I mean, she was getting more into deen and she's learning more things, and she's like, this is like, there's a fitna that's going on in our society, especially in the West, and we need to save our children from it, alhamdulillah. So yeah, that's kind of what happened there.
Okay.
And so fast forwarding to, so I went to University of Michigan, and I was hell bent on becoming a consultant. The dream when I was a 3-year-old, I'm going to go be a McKinsey consultant.
McKinsey,
BCG, yeah. So honestly, I mean,
my family bloodline existed this far and long.
Yeah. So alhamdulillah, what happened was I was interviewing consulting, and I got some really, really good offers, but I ended up getting this offer at a design consulting firm called IDEO. And so IDEO was, I was just like, no, I got the offers from consulting. I didn't come here for IDEO. IDEO's cool, but whatever. And so I went to my career counselor in University of Michigan. His name's Randy. He's a great guy, amazing guy. I have respect for him, like for eternity, for just being an amazing guy. He was a Deloitte consultant for like 40 years. And so he would always coach me. He would do cases with me. I would always learn from him. And
how'd you meet Randy?
So Randy was with the career coach of University of Michigan for the consulting track,
Okay.
and so anytime you wanted to do like a behavioral interview, or
so you just got placed with him when you went.
I mean, you basically could sign up for mock interviews, and then like they had the career coaches that would do it for you. And so I always picked Randy because he was the OG, like he was the guy, and I had a good relationship with him. I remember, so I came to him and I came complaining, and I said, Randy, man, like I interviewed with so many consulting firms, and I only got a handful of offers. Like I interviewed with more than any other person. Like I think I had 20 interviews like for an internship, which is unheard of. On average, you get 4 to 5, and you get one offer. I had like 20, and I had like 2 to 3 offers. Like I didn't have that many, so I was complaining to him. So the first thing he said was, again, I may able to guide him. I love the guy. He just tells it to me straight. He's like, maybe they didn't like the way you looked, and you had a beard, and at the time I was wearing kufi. He's like, maybe it's because of your hat and your beard, and that was I really appreciated that. I really did, because I think we're sometimes delusional to think how the world works. And I just really appreciated like his candidness and honesty. So that like my respect for him like went up 100x for him saying that. But then he's like, "What offers you got?" And I was telling him the offers, and I'm like, "I got IDEO," and he's like, "What?" He's like, "Do you know IDEO?" I'm like, "Of course, yeah, I know IDEO. It's a cool company." He's like, "No." He's like, "You don't understand. Nobody from the school has ever gotten an IDEO offer." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "You need to go there." And I'm like, "Come on, man. Like, I don't want to go to San Francisco." I'm like, at the time, I wanted to go to Atlanta or Texas. I want to come here, honestly, because good weather. I was sick of Michigan, cold weather. I just want to come to nicer weather, and just like easy, generally good cost of living. So I'm dying to go to like Atlanta and Austin or Dallas, like these areas. And he's like, "You need to go to San Francisco. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Okay." Then I remember talking to a friend who's from SF, and I told him I got the offer from IDEO, and he's like, "You need to take that offer." I'm like, "Well, but why? Like, I want to go to Atlanta." He's like, "No. You're not." He's like, "You're." SubhanAllah, this is again a non-Muslim friend, really good friend. Again, another person I really respect. He sat me down and he's like, there's a few people that are gonna change the world, and he's like, but they're gonna do it in certain places. He's like, "I know you are gonna change the world, but you're not gonna do it in Atlanta." No offense, Shastri. I did not play that. I did not come on purpose. It just happened.
He's on his way.
It just happened.
So what year was this? Like 06, 07?
No. This was 2000. This was my MBA, so I'd already worked. I was already married. So this was 2014, 15.
Oh,
And you had kids at this point?
I had one kid at the time. Okay. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So he's like, go to Silicon Valley. He's like, he's like, "I know you're one of the most ambitious people I know. You're gonna change the world."
And you're also very publicly Muslim. You're mentioning that like you had a beard. You had
I used to wear thobe in undergrad.
Yeah,
like, to school, to class. Yeah. That was me. Like I was the guy that annoyed the community.
I want to unwrap that a little bit, but I'll let you continue with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like the VC that wears this.
Yeah.
So so he convinced me. He's like, "Just go there for the summer," and I'm like, "Well, what?" And he's like, "You need to think about the Bay Area, which is very expensive, right?" He's like, "You need to think about that as an investment in yourself." Mm-hmm. And he totally reframed my mind. And so I'm like, "Okay, that's a good idea." I went back to Randy and I'm like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this." And he's like, "Hey, I'm so excited about you going to IDEO. Like, we're gonna pay. Like, we University of Michigan are gonna pay you to go to on top of you getting paid there. We're gonna pay you even more and you need to write us a guide on how to get into IDEO and your experience there."
Wow.
So they paid me. Like, I got an internship paid me, and then University of Michigan paid me. And that guide is still it's still in like the career services page. So it's like how to succeed at IDEO, like my experience at IDEO, and how to get an interview there or how to get a job there. So I wrote this big guide for it. So that summer I lived in Oakland, California, and it was in SF. And subhanAllah, man, just being there I was there for 3 months, but just like 2 weeks in, like it's just, there's energy, there's something in the air. There's like you if you have been to Medina, like there's like a sweetness of air or sweetness of like you feel peace and tranquility. There's something like that in Silicon Valley, not peace, but but it is like ambition or just like people who think big. You're sitting in a train and people are discussing like some big new startup idea, or VCs are coming and making deals at a coffee shop. Like serendipitously, you just see these amazing people, and
there's a lot more collision of ideas from different places. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that summer, I was they called it a business designer. I was basically like a consultant for a design studio, again similar to Bain and BCG and McKinsey, these companies, but with a design thinking lens or human centered design. But we were working with such like startups. We ended up building a fintech startup there. We were kind of like on the founding team at IDEO. But also there were like a lot of Muslim events that were happening. So there's a group called Muppies. If you guys have ever heard of that, Muppies was popping back then. So it's like in 2016, I think. And they had so many events. I met like a VP or director at Pinterest who was Muslim. He had an event. There was a brother who was a COO of Y Combinator who did an event with us, and he hosted like 200 Muslims. It was incredible. And I was like, man, I need to start a company here.
And this is all during this 3-month time period that you're in.
Exactly.
And this is all in 2016. Like these resources and all these things were there.
Correct.
That's amazing.
Correct. Yeah.
With San Francisco, like you just find like every time I've been there, like you just find like random conversations happening all the time. People are just like meeting naturally. Even like if you're trying to launch an application there, people are more adjusted to the risk tolerance.
Correct.
You're also able to like find your early adopters for it. The people are willing to accept mistakes. So it's definitely a different environment for sure. In terms of like this 3-month period that you're there, I mean, that's you mentioned a lot of activity that was happening specifically in the Muslim ecosystem, as well as like your kind of journey towards this like path of working with startups. Where did that lead you to after that?
Yeah. So the funny thing was, so I got super excited. I'm like, this is our place. We're gonna move here. My wife and I got pretty excited. She made a bunch of group of friends. I think shout out to Halal Fest. So back then there was no, mashallah, that's everywhere now, right? So especially in Dallas. But I mean, Halal Fest was on its own in 2016. There was nothing like it. And I remember my friend, I think it was a friend who texted me, go to Halal Fest. And it was that random day. And my wife and I didn't have a car. And so me and her biked with my son in the back. Like we had a little trailer thing for my son and he was behind me. Me and my wife bike, and she wears niqab, by the way. So like, and abaya, and I'm got my thowa, and we're biking. And so we take the train and bike another 3 miles to Halal Fest. And it was incredible. Like we went there, I can't believe that they have like this for Muslims. And because we were stuck in Oakland, where you're not really close to masjid, for us to go to a masjid, we biked. Alhamdulillah, we went to Lighthouse Masjid like during Ramadan. We were there for Ramadan, and so Imam Zayd Shakir's masjid, which again, the most amazing people there, just such beautiful. Like I remember people welcomed us. They were feeding us cake, and like after Taraweeh, it was like so cool, man. MashaAllah, just I felt so welcome, my wife and I, and so like that, all of that mixed together. So like the Muslim community was cool. And like I feel like the Bay Area has both deen and dunya. If you want deen, you can go to Fremont and even San Jose, Santa Clara. You can go to Pleasanton with MCC, you can Zaytuna and Berkeley. So you have like a lot of options. And then of course you have Silicon Valley. You have the Peninsula, Palo Alto, and Santa Clara. All these amazing companies there. You also have obviously SF. And so you just kind of have a mix of everything. And so like I fell in love with the city. I'm like, this is where the world will change. That brother, that non-Muslim brother that was helping me out or giving me advice, he got me. Like the bug, I drank the Kool-Aid, basically.
How did you become friends with them? Because you're mentioning like you are very proudly of who you are. You really embody it. You show it in your character from the time I've known you. And I think sometimes people have this perception that if you own your Muslim identity, that non-Muslims are just going to automatically not accept you. Did you feel that experience in university or in graduate school, or did you feel even more emboldened or more empowered by owning who you are?
I think it depends on like time and place. Like 2000, let's say 6, 7, 9/11 hysteria. I think it probably peaked in like 2007, maybe or 6. So I remember like I would walk around. I was in Detroit for undergrad, and I remember it's like people would just be like, "Hey, go back to your country, terrorists," or like they'd say stuff. It didn't bother me. My friends would be walking with their t-shirts and pants, and I'd be walking with them. And alhamdulillah, they stayed with me. So like that, I respect that. They didn't have to. I actually wouldn't be mad if they're like, I don't want to be seen with you. Like I wouldn't be mad. I get it. And may Allah bless our sisters who wear hijab. Like they have a target on their back. Yeah. We don't. We Muslims, we men don't. Yeah. So like that was one of the reasons I did it. Is like there's a hadith about the Prophet. There's an argument within Sahaba of like, should we look visibly Muslim or not? And they overwhelmingly said you should. And again, I'm not here to judge anyone that doesn't. Like everyone makes their own choice, and I totally understand. But yeah, I think for me it was. Yeah,
I was gonna say, can you expand on that? Like, so you did research on this. Like, can you like maybe talk a little bit about like why it is beneficial to be visibly Muslim? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, in this day and age, I don't know. Like, it depends on the situation. So, like, I'm in the VC space, or I have a startup, and I'm pitching to Zionists. And so, I just look the way I look. The beard's not going away. I can't. I'm not shaving it, right? So it's the
beard's not going away.
But at the end of the day, honestly, like what I will say is that people are incentivized. Incentives drive behavior. Yeah. So Charlie Munger, the right hand man of Warren Buffett, he has something called I think Dear Charlie's Almanac is his book. Amazing read, must have. He's got euphemisms there left and right. This dude is super smart. Wish he was Muslim, but unfortunately he passed away. Again, Allahu Alam, but I don't think so. Yeah, but his most famous saying, or I think the most impactful thing he's ever said, in my opinion, is "Show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome." And so, like we think as Muslims that we think that altruism will get people to come to the masjid or come to donate. And actually, everyone is really motivated by some sort of incentive. And the incentive could be, I want to please God. It could be. But more and more in this world, it's not. More and more, it's like, I want to make money, I want to be famous, I want to have power, whatever you name it. Again, part of it could be that I believe in God, or I want to be a good person, I believe in karma, whatever the reason is. So there's always an incentive driving some behavior. So what I will say is, I've had my ups and downs of being like excellent and not so excellent at certain things. And what I found is the more excellent I was at things, the more people liked me. So I remember when we had a career coach that was like teaching us how to prep when we were at University of Michigan on getting interviews and jobs. He said they're only looking for two things. And this, I guess, is advice for everyone who's trying to look for a job. You only need two things. You need likability and competence. Those are the only two things you need to prove that you'll get the job, or like to move to the next round. And likability is, again, just kind of being yourself, and sometimes that's why culture is really important. But competence is really underrated. It's sometimes hard to show that, but people respect competence. And so I think if I looked the way I did, but I was just the best, I was the guy getting all A's, or I was the guy who was like leading the curve on exams, whatever it was, people liked me. And I think I always had a chip on my shoulder because I look different. We have skin color. Like, our skin color is like, it makes a huge difference how people treat us because of our skin color. And I'm not here to blame, woe is me. Like, that's not it. We just have to be 10 times better than the next person. I believe if I was white and blue eyed and 6'3", blonde hair, and my name was Joe Jackson, then like I feel like I would have be the president of the world at this point. Right? Alhamdulillah, right? But again, that's just the world. That's the cards that Allah gave us. So we're just here to play those cards. So my opinion has been that if you're just good, then people will like you. So especially again back then, there I think 2015, 16, again hysteria had really died down with that, and again obviously now it's a little bit different, but I think people were cool. And the thing is, these universities are liberal areas, like very liberal. So DEI is like really big. And so I hung out with Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. Like I was with that crew. That's who I was. And so they'd be like, oh, Arshan's always with, this Black guy. And again, may Allah bless them, like they and guide them. I really liked being around them because their culture was a little bit more similar than ours, but I also like being, there's a lot of Jews in these top schools. They are. And they were fine. Like they're ex-IDF soldiers that we were hanging out with, subhanAllah. But we generally had mutual respect for each other because everyone who gets in those schools, they're impressive in their own right. There's ex-NFL player, NHL player. There was one of my roommates when I was in Japan. He was a professional violin player for the New York Symphony Orchestra. Just like a very talented guy. Like that's impressive, right? You like when you're around those people, like they chose you to be there for. Also, you're also impressive maybe in a different way. I can't play violin. I think it's haram, but whatever. But it doesn't matter. But I was so impressed by him. So impressed. I'm like, you are like the top of your craft. Like you were in the NBA of violin playing. Like that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So it's really remarkable to be able to navigate your identity, your values, your principles, but to still appreciate something that you may disagree with. And it's like you mentioned, like you have your different opinions on violin, right? But you can still appreciate the dedication and commitment this person has taken to really master that craft. And sometimes I kind of feel that same way, about other people that might be like very, an extremely practicing Buddhist, right? And even though I may disagree with it, right, or I may not believe it, I can empathize on the level of discipline it takes of trying to be mindful on something bigger than your own self, right? And I think sometimes people, do you feel like that's the way you navigate that? Do you think that's a very uncommon characteristic among like Muslims that you've met in your life, or do you think it's kind of like most Muslims are like that?
So ihsan is rare.
Yeah.
Ihsan, like being excellence. Hasan, like to be excellent at something, again, by definition, it's rare because it's a bell curve, right? So I think again, one reason I took my deen very seriously was that exact reason. If I'm gonna go, like when I was 16, I had like a crisis of is this the real religion? Like I don't think it's fair that Allah just made me born a Muslim and then that's the truth. Like that's not fair. So I actually went in and started studying. And of course, astaghfirullah, like without a guide, anything, I'm just like going on, whatever we had back then, because, back in the Stone Age when I was, hanging out with Abraham Lincoln or whoever it was. So I'm on the internet and I'm going to these websites, I'm learning about Buddhism, I'm learning about Christianity, learning about Judaism. And I came very quickly to the conclusion that Islam is the truth. And if I'm like, okay, if Islam is the truth, then I better be dang good at it. Like that was my thesis, basically my framework for how I wanted to live my life, and that's why I got really into Deen. And I started going to halaqat, and I used to sneak out from my parents' house when I was 16 to go to halaqas, not to go drink. Well, everyone else was going drinking or whatever. I literally was like, my friend would come so while everyone's sleeping.
Why'd you have to sneak out to do that?
Oh man, because I should be studying, right? So I think like ihsan is very rare. I think we have so many Muslims nowadays, 2 billion, that like by definition you actually have ihsan. You just don't know it. You don't know where the ihsan is. So we can say all we want about how Muslims are bad or whatever it is, and I think it's not true. Percentage wise, it's probably the same as every other community. Like let's say 10%. Let's just say 10% are ihsanic or whatever you want to call it, are excellent in whatever craft they have. I mean, that's 200 million people in the Muslim Ummah. That's a lot of people. But the other thing I want to say is that like, when we talk about respect, the people that I actually respect the most for their craft are Jews. Like, they actually have it figured out, especially in dunya. The way they do business is actually impeccable, incredible, much better than me, much better than my community. So, I mean, they overemphasize like building relationships. They overemphasize, like when I'm going to pay you, I'm going to pay you. When I say I'm going to do something or sign a contract, I'm going to do it with you. Like they have my theory is that they studied the Sunnah. They studied Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they found like, oh my God, this is the secret to doing amazing business. And they applied it and they won.
Honestly, I resonate with that a lot. For me, one of the big things, when I used to be like a contractor, even like in high school, like making websites and stuff, it was such a burden at times, just annoyance when people would be like, okay, when you get this done, I'll pay you this amount, and da-da-da-da-da, right? Or like, I remember one time I mowed this lady's yard. I was like, oh my gosh, I was in 6th grade, and this lady did not pay me after I finished everything. And I come home, I'm obviously like heartbroken, right? Because this is in Texas heat. And I tell my dad, mind you, right? And my dad's a professor at Texas A&M at the time, my late father. And so, but he was also a freedom fighter, right? So he is very much, if there's injustice, he's the first one up, right? And so I'm, he can't tell if I'm sweating or crying, right? It's a little bit of A, a little bit of B. And then he's like, what happened? And I'm expressing it. He's like, all right, we're going to go back. And we go there. And the lady's like, you missed this spot, this spot, this spot. And my dad's like, okay, cool. And then my dad helped me tidy it all up. And then the lady still refused to pay, right? And then, my dad ended up paying me, right, instead. But, for me now as an adult, right? And of course now, alhamdulillah, being a bit more practicing, the idea of like paying before a drop of sweat even happens is so important to me. It's before whenever I do business, like, this is objective, this is a task, I'm going to go ahead and pay you. And I think it's like those types of things makes business so much easier, because I think when I was doing work back then, even as in college, I'm like, man, it's like, I hope they pay me, but if I'm already paid, I feel more incentivized to do a good job because they respect me, they trust me. And I'm like, I need to play that role and do that. I'm willing to take the risk, right? That, yeah, they may do a terrible job, they may just run off with it, but I feel like I did my part on making it work.
The way I think our countries have, unfortunately, we have like a scarcity mindset that comes from like colonialism, and so that's why we are in order with kanjus, like we're like so tight with our money, and we won't like share it. But the Jews share it.
Yeah.
And they look at the long term. They don't look at the short term. They know that I'm going to invest in this kid who's 17 years old on like in his bar mitzvah or whatever it is, and I'll give him $1 million, and he's probably going to squander that money and burn it. But I'm investing in his future, and I'm going to in 10 years he'll be amazing. The thing about startups is it takes 10 years to succeed, on average, and so it's a long game.
It's a generational game, right? Like if you're, if I help someone out, if I'm in a position to help someone out, and, maybe they become successful. And at that time, if my generation is actually one falling behind, but their generation excels, then maybe my grandkid will like, well, actually, his great-great-grandfather helped our family when we weren't really making it.
Yeah.
And people keep track of those things. They're not necessarily keeping score, but they keep track of the gratitude of where, I think even with like, who was it? Howard Schultz, right? With Starbucks. His lawyer was Bill Gates' dad. Right. and a lot of it is because of the connections that they had. Like, like they were saying like, oh yeah, Bill Gates' dad, like he like really advocates for like small businesses and all this stuff. And like what you're going through, like you're the small guy. And it's a really famous story. I'm like trying to jog my memory, but essentially this person was suing Schultz, and he goes to this person's business with Bill Gates's dad. And at that time, Gates' dad, he's passed away, but had an immense respect all throughout Seattle. He was a big shot lawyer. And the moment he walked to the door, the guy dropped the case.
SubhanAllah.
You didn't have to say a
Yeah.
word. Like that was it.
Yeah, I mean, reputation matters,
Mm-hmm.
and I think again we think as Muslim, just again a lot of our mindsets from our countries is like short term thinking. Let me like maximize and take, maybe I'll squeeze $25 out of you instead of 20, but you'll never come back.
Do you think that's like a result due to colonialism?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, again, when you have countries that are occupying yours, and they won't give you enough food, they won't give you shelter, whatever it is. I mean, you basically, and then I think there was a brother who talked about like when you look at the way people do lines in a country, that'll determine a lot of like the culture. So in America, we have scarcity is not an issue, so we stand in lines, and like generally in the West we do. But if you go to like Syria, look at Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like they cannot like it makes no sense. Well, first of all, getting shot, but in those food camps, but like there's nothing to do, but you have to run and get it. Like nobody's coming to save you, and so like you're forced to do it. When in Rome, you do as Romans do. Like there's no to me, there's no blame for that. Like they're stuck in that situation, but that's a lot of our situations we came from. And so like I mean, if you ever go to Hajj or Umrah, like there's no lines, but there is like the scarcity of like, oh, I need to kiss Hajar al-Aswad, I need to get on this bus or whatever it is, and we can't solve that problem because of the mindset of people.
How do you? I mean, not that you're proposing that you have the solution, right? But how do we start undoing these type of structures? Because like we are in many parts of the Muslim world are still impacted either by the remnants of colonialism or still going through the process of colonialism, right? For Muslims in the West, at least, right, where we've kind of, I guess, now in the heart of the empire, how do we start reframing our structures and not living from the byproduct of this so we can really help propel the ummah forward?
So when the Islamic Golden Age was going on, you guys grew up in America, is that right?
Yes.
You guys went to like public school, so I went to public school. Like they never taught us about that. Like we went from Romans, and then we skipped it. We were like from the years like 500 to 1400. Nothing happened in the world. Nothing.
Well, they don't
right?
give any. They completely skip all of the credit of how much when Europe was in the Dark Ages, the reason Europe was able to excel out of the Dark Ages was because of the Islamic Golden Age.
So that's my answer to your question.
Yeah.
So what happened was the Europeans came to the Middle East. They came to the Islamic world, and they took everything good, and then they brought it to theirs.
They were wiping their butts with rope. Like that's actually true.
SubhanAllah.
No way.
Yeah, they would royalty would use a rope, like a tethered rope, and they would wipe their booty with it, and then the next Billy Joe would come in, use the same dang rope.
Hygiene was definitely an issue.
Yeah, and they thought using leaves was for poor people, the royalty at that time.
Yeah, SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
So that like they took from our golden age again. No shade against the Europeans.
Right,
they did the right
right,
thing.
right,
They
right.
did, like civilizations. That's how civilizations thrive. Is they learn from each other. So what we did. So then our civilization stagnated, right, in let's say 1800s maybe, and then we've kind of ever since have been in the situation we are to colonize that type of thing. And so a lot of Muslims are like, go back to the Sunnah, go back to this. Okay, yeah, I agree, agreed. But we need to take from the people that are winning right now, because right now we are not. And so I think we can't. We are almost there. We are very close. We just have to take, the good stuff from them. That's why I think, again, when it comes to I think Silicon Valley follows more Sunnah than like the average Muslim.
Oh, wow.
Generally.
Silicon Valley feels more sunnah than the average Muslim.
Yeah, when it comes to business.
Okay.
Yeah, when it comes to startups.
Okay.
Yeah, so like they help each other out.
Yeah.
They invest. They take risks with each other. They share the risk. That's musharaka. That's an Islamic concept, by the way.
What's the word?
Musharaka. Musharaka is like it's basically venture capital. We invented venture capital, but now us Muslims are like, brother, that's what the non-Muslims do. That's what the Jews do. So therefore, you shouldn't do it. Like that's ignorance. That's ignorance, right? Because we invented it. You see what I'm saying? So like that was kind of honestly what attracted me to Silicon Valley. Is like I found like if you want to find your people who have huququllah, which is the rights of Allah, go to madrasa, go to South Africa and Pakistan and Turkey and all these countries, and you'll see just amazing Muslims in the madrasa and like the shuyukh, the Quran, tajweed, perfect, and it's amazing. But you will very rarely find good business people in those same areas. Like Silicon Valley is the good business people, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying it's perfect. There's a lot of corruption and different things, but like the general framework of what Silicon Valley is Islamic. It is, we're not going to screw each other over. A lot of things are handshake agreements. We're not going to sign an NDA. We're going to trust that you're not going to share this with other people. Again, I'm not saying that everyone does that, but that's the culture.
But
right?
I mean, it's an important part. And honestly, the NDA example is a great one. I think we joke all the time is that if someone wants to make me sign an NDA just to hear their idea, I'm not gonna bother.
Yeah, I mean, as a VC, like I'll actually never fund you.
Right,
I'll probably blacklist you if you do that.
Yeah.
To
So
be
it's
honest.
almost it's like an honor rule, right? Like in the same way when I'm, correct me on this, but it was a hadith, I think it was saying that, success won't come to you unless you wish the best for your brother as you do for yourself, right?
Mashallah.
Something like that. And
Mashallah.
I think it's always easy to say in here, and I'll be the first one to admit it, right? I literally have to go in the mirror and say it all the time because the world makes me think it's a limited world, right? I get so fixated that my risk is dunya centric, and it's not like from Allah.
Right. So the thing is that again, back to like colonialism has a lot to do with what we're talking about. So we think the world is a zero sum game, and actually that's not the truth at all. It's not a zero sum game. You can create more wealth. You can create more barakah, and right. So like the example I would give is like, for example, when you memorize Quran, when you're hafiz, for example, the way a lot of our community mentality think is that we have a 1 terabyte hard drive. And 850 gigabytes is to memorize Quran. And so if you memorize Quran, you are stuck with, oh my God, I'm only left with 150 gigabytes, so therefore I'm going to be an idiot, I'm going to be a loser, I'm going to be whatever. Turns out, what does Allah do when you memorize Quran? He teaches you to learn. He teaches you to memorize. Like you've mastered that skill. You cannot master, you cannot not be a master if you've memorized a 600-page book in a different language.
And
impossible.
Also scientifically, as you learn more things, you actually gain more wrinkles
Exactly.
in your brain. So Allah's giving you
more
the
knowledge.
Ability to,
So your 1 terabyte becomes 2 terabytes for free.
And you got a better graphics card because you can process information faster.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
And so
this all goes to this concept of barakah, right? Like you were mentioning a little bit earlier, like getting married earlier, having a kid earlier, or having a kid in general is like a form of a barakah, and they have their own risk associated with it. It's like it's this underlying understanding that whatever's going to be coming is going to be coming from one source, and no one else can take that away, regardless of like what situation you're kind of in. So having that type of mentality and belief is like core and critical. Were there times where you found this to be like very challenging, like as a belief for you to like? Was there a moment in time where you doubted this belief?
Yeah, there's no such thing as a moment who doesn't doubt. So like all of us doubt. All of us have moments of hardship. And they're hard. Generally when things are not going well, maybe at work or whatever it is, like maybe get in a fight with your wife or something, like something happens. You're just like, oh my God, like, or maybe you let someone down, right? You let someone down, or there's so many like examples, like hundreds of examples. The thing is like to succeed, like you have to fail thousands of times, hundreds of times, and nobody wins. Like nobody just keeps winning. Nobody.
How did you, when the ground shakes like that, right? How do you kind of find your stability again?
I mean, like I remember one time the sheikh in our masjid. One time I was really down. I was doing i'tikaf and something really bad happened, and he gave me like a du'a. Like he's just read this du'a, and I think the difference between that and maybe other situations was I believed in the du'a. Like I believed it would work. So I had like severe belief. I'm like, the sheikh gave it to me, man. Like it's a real thing. So I made that du'a. I made it every day after salah, and like Allah, like I mean, like when so much barakah, the money's coming out of your mouth, or like a magician, like it felt like that. Like that's how much barakah that like Allah gave us. And so yeah, I think just again that's why you have like teachers and elders that you can go to in those moments that you can trust. And I mean, a lot of us have lost that. To be honest, we don't have those mentors or we don't have people like that. But we should find them. And I think some of us have disregarded maybe our parents sometimes to be those, or even our elder siblings or elder friends, or even the imams of the masjid. And they may not, sometimes they're not the right people, but you need to find who those people are that you can confide in.
Do you feel, and maybe this is something because I haven't done, do you feel like people like us, right, share those intimate goals and things that they want to achieve with their family, with their parents, or with someone close in the community? And because I never really did that until maybe like more so recently, right? Like, oh, this is my dream, this is like what I really want to achieve. Is that common within our spaces where we kind of cultivate that?
I mean, like I think Palestine has really opened all of our eyes to do something. Before then, I mean, I would consider my heart dead. pre October 7th, to be honest. Were we making dua for Palestine here and there, once a year when they were mowing the lawn and stuff like that. But we didn't really, the Uyghurs, our brothers and sisters in the Uyghur community, the brothers and sisters in Sudan, like
Congo,
every location. There's like so much going, Burma, and all these locations. So much is happening. Even India, like my parents are from there, and there was issues there. So I think it's interesting because I would say October 7th, I never really saw the Ummah united on anything. I remember I tried to unite, like, even friends on, like, let's just unite on that we all believe in God. Yeah, I couldn't do it. It wasn't enough. SubhanAllah. May Allah protect us. Like, if that's not enough, like, that's kind of crazy, to be honest. I couldn't do it. I remember they laughed at me and like, what are you talking about? That's not it. SubhanAllah. Are you kidding me?
With Muslim friends or friends?
Muslim friends, yeah. Religious practicing friends, by the way.
I understand that.
On God?
So, to kind of, maybe to explain a little bit more. So, like, we were trying to, like, unite the community.
Right.
And so I'm like, if you want to unite the community, let's start from the beginning. Let's start from, like, the highest level where we all agree, and then kind of keep going down until we don't agree, and then we just stop there. Like, that was my framework. And they're like, no, but we want layer 16. Let's start with layer 16, where everyone doesn't like it.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a concept in, when like Indonesia during like when the U.S. was essentially getting involved there, this idea of the united front, kind of counter movement towards like fascism, is that you have all this like far left groups and they have different ideas, but you got to find the baseline, and then from there you build forward. When you were kind of going through, when you were like, okay, this is the baseline. At least I thought this was the baseline. Did that feel isolating?
Yeah, so back when I'm saying, like, remember the story I'm saying about how I felt like an outcast in Michigan, like that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like I just think about things differently. For
me, that would shake my Muslim identity, not as a believer. I think that's separate, but like my Muslim identity would be like, whoa. I thought this was the
so like again, like I keep going back to the incentive piece. Like that's such an important concept. I think Muslims really need to get this, because again, I taught alhamdulillah, I learned a little bit of ilm, and I used to teach Quran. I used to teach some classes here and there, and the wind was blowing against me, and it's because the incentives are not aligned. What incentive do Muslims have to listen to tafsir? Like we really don't have a real unfortunately. Like, the only thing is altruism. Like, or like, it's like, I believe in God. I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to learn more about Him. But like that's very, very rare.
What was your incentive?
To teach it or to listen?
To listen. Yeah.
Because I remember I had that chip on my shoulder. I'm like, if I'm gonna be a Muslim, I chose to be the best of the best I could.
So for you, that was your drive. Like, this
totally.
is the truth.
If it's the truth, why would I take it? Why would I just take it and throw it in the garbage?
Right.
Like it's the truth. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, I'm not saying I'm a saint by any means. I'm horrible, but like at least I tried everything I could.
Right.
I mean, Ya Allah, at least I'm like, Ya Allah, at least on the day of judgment, I want to say, at least Ya Allah, I tried. I tried for you. I know I made a ton of mistakes, but at least I tried. And remember, the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala versus the dunya is that in the dunya, we don't give a crap about how much effort you put in. We just care about the outcome. So if you work, if you're working 8 a.m. and you're leaving at 8 p.m., but you don't deliver that paper that I asked you for at 4 p.m., I don't care. I don't care that you put in 12 hours a day.
It's a failure,
You're still, I'll still fire you.
Yeah.
But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so generous and merciful. He's the opposite. He does not care about the outcome. He just cares about your effort. Allahu Akbar. How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
How beautiful is that? That's why innamal a'malu bin niyat. Everything is based off intention. There's a reason for that. Subhanallah. That you get like double the reward for having the intention and doing it. And if you don't have even if you do a bad deed, you don't get the sin for having the intention to do bad. You just get it for doing it. Like that's how merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is.
You don't have to be humble, but you're a leader, right? Like through and through, you're a leader, right? You're a husband, you're a father, you own a business. A lot of this requires, when you're trying to cultivate people to an idea or a baseline, and it's not happening, especially in like religious matters, right? That requires a significant amount of patience. And this is because you care. You care about not only the cause, but your brothers, your community, right? And for me, oftentimes, like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? When he talks about his frustrations, but he's like trying to be patient, and I cannot even imagine, because like sometimes I feel frustrated within the Ummah in terms of what's happening in Gaza, right, or in the Congo or in the Sudan, and like, you know, we have the money, we have the people, we can do these things, but like, you know, it just gets suffocating. How do you navigate that? How did you navigate that?
I mean, the story of Ta'if is like the perfect story to explain this, right? And the thing that Rasulullah SAW said was, forgive them, they don't know. Even though he got stoned and he was bleeding to his sandals, subhanAllah. If he went through that, no, who cares if someone doesn't listen to me? Mm-hmm. And by the way, I mean, I've tried to be a leader and failed 1,000 times. And the one time, you know, people are, oh, mashallah, you're a leader. It's like, well, I mean, I tried to be a leader 100 times and nobody cared, you know? But that's like, perseverance is the name of the game here. And that's, again, Rasulullah SAW, same thing. He was boycotted. He was trying to be a leader. Nobody listened to him. They're throwing guts on him, you know, camel guts on him when he's doing sajda. Like, I mean, we are not going through anything close to that. Even Bilal radiallahu anhu, they're putting a stone on his chest, you know, in the heat. I mean, I'm going out in the Dallas heat and I'm dying, you know. May Allah bless our the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, like how much amazing perseverance they had. That is the number one thing that will make you successful. It's not intelligence. It's not smarts. It's not anything. It's not being like charismatic. None of that stuff is as important as perseverance or grit. And like nobody had more perseverance than prophets and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Like nobody. You know, Ayyub alayhi salam is the one who's, you know, going through, like his whole family's leaving him and he's getting sick and more sick, and they have like, you know, he has maggots inside his body. Like it's so bad, and he doesn't like. He's like, this is Allah's test for me. I won't give up. Even Yunus alayhi salam in the belly of the whale, right? Like he still is like, you know, ya Allah, inni kuntu min adh-dhalimin, like, you know, I'm the one who did the wrongdoer. I'm the wrongdoer here. Ya Allah, you know, there's no one worthy of worship with you. So like, he never gave up. Even though, I mean, he left the town, but like that was not the reason. Like he still didn't give up, subhanAllah. So like these stories, like, these are in the Quran for a reason. They're not for folktales. They're there to remind us. And so coming back to these, and by the way, if you're not a Muslim, there's plenty of non-Muslim stories that we can also be motivated by. I mean, you know, like imagine.
Well, I mean, even in the Bhagavad Gita, like even like in Hindu literature, right? Like that's almost 2,000 years. There's very similar stories that they have shared that is very similar to like with Surah Qaf, right? SubhanAllah. It's incredible. Like for me, in my religious journey, it was like trying to find the commonalities in these things. And one of the things that really shocked my mind when I was like learning about like Shinto monks in Japan and like how they prayed, I was like, whoa, that's very close to what we do.
There's like a fitra of how humans are. Right? Like naturally, if you, I think, in my opinion, if you left a human alone, they would find God.
Yeah.
Like if they lived alone and like there's nobody else in the world, like for sure they would find God. There's like no doubt. And I think honestly, the Israelis, they are kind of like the Quraysh, where they know Allah exists. Like they know it. They know Muslim Islam is the truth. That's why they're attacking us. Like,
well, there's a very famous clip that like circulated by like a quite well-known rabbi, and he was speaking about how like the Muslims spiritually are like protected.
SubhanAllah.
And I sometimes like to kind of consider ourselves spiritually spoiled, and we don't even know it, right? Yeah. Like the immense blessing that we have that we don't like. I'm tearing up because it's like we're beyond lucky, and I don't think we even like recognize it. Even when recognizing you're lucky, you still don't know how lucky you are.
Yeah, we don't know what we have. We don't know what we have.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I mean, you can't do anything to a Muslim. You can't, right? You can torture us. You can kill us. You can take away our money. So what? Like, you take away our money, Allah will give us rizq.
It's also wasn't written for us. So.
It's always written for us, exactly. You kill us, we're martyrs.
Yeah, you know, right? It's a win-win.
Yeah, we win. Yeah, we win. I'm actually jealous of our brothers and sisters in Palestine because they, on the Day of Judgment, are guaranteed. There's like no doubt where they're going.
One of my Christian buddies said something to me. He was saying, you know, honestly, the people in Palestine are free, not us, because they can die on their feet believing in something while we're on our knees just accepting it.
SubhanAllah. I think Allah will question us. He won't question them.
100,000%. And I'm honestly terrified.
Absolutely.
Right? But I'm also like, I'm not absolved of it. Like I unfortunately have to accept it because I'm in comfort, you know?
Totally.
And so, but I think it is a very, you know, I was talking to Hamza about this the other day. It's like almost 1 million people are gone, you know, 2 million people on this planet in that area were alive. 300,000 are children that are gone. And for me, that is just so overwhelming. It gets to the point where I'm like, oh, we're not moving fast enough. And so, like, to you, what is the most urgent matter for us to kind of get in line with? And what are like actionable steps that an individual can do to help progress those incentives, those objectives, to really get this momentum, right? And I think one brother that we listened to a while back was saying, I think it was like for almost like 4 years or 13 years during the Prophet's time of the message, there's only, he only had 10 followers or something like that, right? And I think sometimes we put so much weight on not having enough people, when in reality it's the impact of the individual. But I'm yapping. But I'm curious to hear, what that looks like for you in terms of the things that we can do at an individual level, and then what the main core, like 3 main core things that we need to do as Western Muslims to really have an impact on our brothers and sisters who are in the impacts of colonialism or suffering through colonialism.
Yeah. So first off, I would say that we're all colonialized in the mind.
Yeah.
At this point, like we're all not colonialized like physically anymore, but we're still in the mind. Like that I think we have to get rid of that. I would like the thing is, unfortunately, there is no short-term answer. Like that, at least I found. Again, if anyone knows, please do it, right? And let us know so we can join you, inshallah. So I think if you look at the Muslim Ummah in the West, let's call it, in the superpower, in the United States in particular, we're the only minority that has no power. Right? So we have blacks, they have power. You have women, you have LGBT, you have Hispanic, etc., etc., etc. There's even an Iranian mafia in Silicon Valley that I don't even know if they're Muslim or not, to be honest. I can be able to guide them.
A lot of Iranians are Zionists, and
some of them are Jews, and that type of thing.
Yeah, in California.
And so there actually isn't, like, we have realized in the last 2 years that we Muslims have zero power, zero. We have no influence whatsoever. So unfortunately, again, I don't know any short-term solution because we have no influence. So therefore, with that framework in mind, the thing we should do is build influence. That's the answer to the question. And I don't think we can do it fast enough. But I think we should try. At least we can try. So I think we need to. How do you build influence? Well, let's learn from the people who did it really well 100 years ago. Our Jewish cousins. They realized that certain things are important, certain fields are important. So we need to invest in those fields. We'll invest in our people into those fields. So those fields are, generally speaking, like politics, media, technology, finance, businesses, etc. So I think Sheikh Haytham al-Haddad, I did a podcast with Yasir Qadi, and I think he had a framework. It was similar to those, like, I think he had six things. Maybe education was one of them. I agree, but I think the way we do education in our country is flawed. But anyway, so what we need to do is build that. And so what's the fastest way to do that? I think we need to build businesses. That's the fastest way to build power and leverage. And the fastest way to build big businesses is startups. There's no other way. Like, we can't build, again, chicken shop or maybe an Islamic relief. Like, those are, like, Islamic, again, may Allah bless the brothers again. I don't want to talk down on a lot of the nonprofits that the Muslim brothers and sisters are doing, but that does not make impact. That does not, unfortunately, build leverage. It doesn't. And so we need to build leverage. So that's why one of the reasons we started Friday was, like, that's the thesis behind it, is we're going to build our own soft power. And the way we're going to do that is by just bringing everyone together. And the beauty is that Muslims have already, like, we don't need to train Muslims, actually. We actually don't.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of all of this, is that we have amazing lawyers, amazing doctors, amazing engineers, amazing, you name it. Most AI researchers that are like VPs or wherever, like at these big companies, there's always a Muslim name, always, in every single one of these companies. Like I think the founder of Stable Diffusion is a Muslim. And a very, very, like, active Muslim for our community, by the way. So we have, like, the people are already there. We already have it. And so with Friday, if you want me to jump into that, I guess.
Of course.
So the way it started was I went to I started my journey into startups. So again, fast forwarding my story, which is not that eventful, but let's just say like about 2 or 3 years ago, I started a company, and I would go to events. I kind of drank the Kool-Aid of let's go to events, let's kind of like network, let's play startup as much as possible. And there was a lot of Jews, a lot of Yahud, a lot of Israelis, Zionists, a lot of Zionists there. I just didn't feel comfortable, and I'm okay. And then I would look up like different types of events. So there was like an Israeli meetup for startups. There's a women's meetup for startups, black meetup for startups. Again, nothing inherently wrong with any of these things, by the way. So where's a Muslim one? So like I searched Muslim startups, 0 results. And that was just it's so disheartening because I've heard of good Muslim startups. Like I don't know if you know it, but like the founder of YouTube is Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but most people don't know that.
Bengali.
Is he Bengali?
Yeah,
that's incredible. Mashallah.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
Trust me, I googled that. I think it just was like
Bengali founder, Bengali entrepreneur.
Yeah, literally in 5th grade. I don't know why. Oh yeah, I know why. Because it was like I was a diehard Longhorn fan, and I was like famous alumni. So it was like Michael Dell popped up. I was like, oh, I have a Dell computer, and I just a Zionist, unfortunately, but I didn't know any better back then. But yeah, it just was Michael Dell in 5th grade for just was your famous Texan. So
mashallah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so like we have like so what I did was what we did was we got together and had a meetup. And in that meetup, we were just like a Muslim founders meetup, whatever. Like whoever can come. We had an office.
So this is like a large gathering, small gathering?
It was about like 20.
It was like non-existent before this.
So
right?
like 25 or 30 people showed up. So it was like a decent amount of people.
Yeah.
Is this pre-Muppies?
No. So this is post Muppies.
Muppies, okay.
This is post COVID. So like I think Muppies really when I moved back to San Francisco full time. I was really excited about Muppies, maybe, but there weren't that many events anymore. I think, mashallah, the lead, like I think moved or something, and it kind of really fizzled out, unfortunately. Because I really enjoy. I think I learned a lot, and I just saw a community, and I'm like, oh, this is incredible. But like it kind of fizzled out, and so we didn't have that. I mean, there was other brothers, mashallah, like and sisters that did like Minturns and a few other groups, but they all kind of fizzled out. Which again is the learning for Friday, by the way. Yeah. And so we did this event. And alhamdulillah, it was great. 25, 30 people showed up. We were super energized. It's like, finally, our people are here. This is pre-October 7th. And so we're like, let's create a WhatsApp group to like, we need to keep this going. And anytime, I'm sure if you ever go to a Muslim event, even like a Thrive, you'll be like, oh, we need to keep the momentum going, as everyone says, right? And so for me, it's like, let's create a WhatsApp group. So we created the WhatsApp group. In 3 months, it went from 25 or 30 people to 700. Alhamdulillah. Again, just through the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it looks like people wanted this. And so we kind of had that. Again, alhamdulillah, was growing. We were doing just meetups here and there. Shastri, like I don't know if he told you the story of how we met, but like I was like DMing him to like fill out this form. Like, if you want to join this group, you need to fill out this form. And he's like, "Who the hell are you, man? Come on!" Like, yeah. He's like, "What are you doing? Wait, are you spammer? Like, what's going on here? Like, are you trying to steal my money from Nigeria? What's going on?"
You're the guy at CC's.
Yeah, and I was kind of annoyed. And I'm sure he was annoyed. And mashallah, he's such a nice brother. So he's like, let's have a call. I'm like, yeah, why not? Like, I wouldn't mind. And then we had a call, and we had a lot in common. And then he's like, hey, I had some vision for certain things, and I had vision. Shasha had some visions. He's like, let's work together. I'm like, great, mashallah. Like, let's do it. And then, alhamdulillah, it's been great. And then he's like, there's another sister who, she's a Palestinian sister who works as a community manager for a fund. So like, Shasha had the vision for the fund, and obviously we have the community. So we're like, hey, a community manager of a fund. And she's Muslim, and he just met her, and he's like, let's bring her in the conversation. We brought her in. She was excellent. She was awesome. Alhamdulillah. So the three of us are the founders of Friday. Alhamdulillah. And again, the vision was like just building leverage. That's the thesis behind what Friday is. And the way I've learned to do that over time is serendipity. So naturally, by putting people in the same room, because again, we already have the skills. Like, we don't need to train people. Alhamdulillah, like, I don't think education is actually that important for at least in the West. Like, I think obviously if you're in Pakistan or in other countries, like definitely you can. I think their education is there. You just have to kind of invest in it a little bit. But we need to just come together. That's all we have to do, and that's how basically Friday started. And I think again, my version of your answer to your question of how do we make an impact or like what it is, like I think Friday is the best thing we can do. That's my opinion. Again, if you disagree with me, like let's chat. Let's chat about this like as critical thinkers and see, okay, what is better than this? And I'm happy to work on that, right? And so, I mean, but the thing is, like we were able to just like get people to connect with each other, find co-founders. Even like we help media companies with some news and tech news. Like there's so many different things we do. Just again, serendipitously, these matches happen. The beauty of Friday is by like organizing this. I can reach out to Muslims, like I can cold message them and just be like, hey, like let's chat, and I get a pretty strong response rate. And because it's a very aligned mission, it's like yeah, of course we need help. And the one thing I'll say is like, unfortunately, I think our community back to scarcity mindset. So we build a lot of masajid or a lot of nonprofits, but once someone is really going well, what does our community do? Like, what do you guys think? Like, if one is going really well, what does our community do?
Well, I guess in my experience, what I really witness is they just keep putting more and more into one thing, and only that one thing keeps growing.
I wish that were true.
Yeah,
like that's the right answer. That's the right what you should be doing. What our community does is, I can do that better. I'm gonna create one across the street.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and so we just start competing. We always start competing.
It's kind of like that crab mentality.
Exactly. Yeah. So like I call it like spite masajid or like spite nonprofits. Like I'm just building out a spite because I didn't agree with one decision that they made. And I guess it's not easy to work with each other. Like but again, we have to do our best to align incentives, inshallah.
So I have a question about this.
Yeah.
So in terms of so in general, I would say at least the three or everyone in this room agrees with like the concept of working together as a community and making sure that we can try our best to get as aligned as possible and then move forward. How do you combat that with like the earlier statement that you made today that, the incentives have to align? Or what was the quote that you said? It was like the incentives have to align.
About the incentives?
Show me the incentive.
Show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome.
Show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome, right? So like, to me, I think that a big piece of why a lot of these organizations don't align is because they don't have like a uniform incentive structure that gets them working together in some capacity. Do you agree with that? And how do you change that?
So like again, in a nonprofit, the way the setup works is you have like a board of directors, a board of trustees, and then employees. That's pretty much it. But how does like Google incentivize 140,000 people to work for them? Like, do you know like, what makes Google versus like Johnson & Johnson? Do you know what the difference is?
P. Diddy, sorry.
SubhanAllah.
Well, the potential of like the growth of the organization and you grow with that organization, right?
So I mean, you're saying it in different words, but you're saying it. So it's actually equity. So like they give stake to everyone that works at Google. Johnson & Johnson does not. Exactly. I used to work at General Motors.
Yeah.
They didn't give me equity.
Yeah.
They just gave me a bonus. And it was tied to like some stupid performance metrics that had nothing to do with. Versus with Google or again a lot of tech companies, they'll give you a % equity. So now like you are now invested in making sure it succeeds. And in a startup, the incentives align very well. Because if you join as an engineer or whatever it is as an early employee, they'll give you more equity because you're taking a risk. And you want more equity because that, maybe your salary is lower than the standard rate, but your potential for your equity is like in the millions, hundreds of millions sometimes.
And collectively, you think way more as a team structure.
You don't need to argue anymore. You don't need to fight like, I need to be better than him. Who cares?
Right.
Like if me and him put aside our differences, we'll get to 10 million. We'll get to 100 million. Like I will let bygones be bygones to make $100 million, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like anyone would. So with a nonprofit, there's no incentive like that. There's nothing. So the incentive is let me go start my own dang thing, and so I can own all of it. Yeah, and so that's like.
Do you notice this mentality from business to business as well? Like, let's say there's like 30 of the same type of applications that are coming out, same market vertical, pick anything, right? But maybe the idea should be that they should kind of work together.
I mean, like, so in that case, may the best person win, and so like what ends up happening is they either overcompete and like the one with more funded or has the better pedigree, whatever it is, a better product wins, or they buy them, they gobble them up. Like, you can't gobble up nonprofits. It's very much more difficult.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you bring a good point, right? It's like if you're working for the same vision. Now, the reality is, at least with nonprofits, right? The individuals that are donating or contributing, they're kind of getting double taxed, right? Because they have to pay for admin fees on both places now.
Correct.
So your overall mission is to help the most amount of people.
The incentive should be to bring them together.
Exactly. Bring them together and just have,
But so like the collective incentive is that, but the individual incentive is not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you grow in your mindset for those who kind of fall into the trap of I guess spite entrepreneurship.
Spite entrepreneurship is good, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Define what you mean by spite entrepreneurship.
Well, I mean, to your point, right? It's like, oh, I disagree. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. But by the way, just a quick point on spite entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Like, that's the PayPal mafia. Right? That's exactly what that is.
Yeah,
and we need our own mafia.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to build a Friday mafia. I
Right.
would love for everyone who comes out of Friday, oh, look at this billion-dollar company here, this multi-billion-dollar there, and $100 million there. Like, I want that to happen. If I own zero equity, we still win.
Well, okay,
You know?
so correct me if I'm wrong here, but the PayPal mafia, they all like invest in each other in their own endeavors.
Correct, but
Right.
what you do is by building that mafia,
Yeah.
you now get first dibs on investing.
No,
You get-
exactly.
yeah.
Well, I guess when I say spite, I mean, like, let's say, I don't even want to use this as an example because I don't want that bad juju, but let's say me and this pen are in business, right? And like, oh, I want blue colored pens. Like, well, I want purple colored pens. I mean, essentially, sometimes people do get into grievances to do different things.
But
because
in
of
that case,
right?
if the
Yeah.
blue pen, if you want a pink pen, let's say,
Yeah, purple.
purple
Yeah,
pen,
yeah,
excuse me.
That's right.
Gotta listen.
So we're about to have three companies selling pens right now.
So if you want the purple pen,
Yeah.
let's say you raise $1,000 and you get zero revenue.
Yeah.
But the blue pen raises $100 million.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, join me. Like, wouldn't you rather have 1% of a lot
Yeah,
than
yeah.
100% of nothing?
Right.
So like the incentives still align. You see what I'm saying? Like that's why I think Silicon Valley is sunnah. Like I believe it's sunnah.
yeah.
The incentives align, right? Like the framework. Remember,
Yes.
I need to clarify the
Yeah.
framework of Silicon Valley aligns with the sunnah, not necessarily the.
I don't know
Yes.
if I fully agree with that
Okay,
statement.
yeah,
though.
Bismillah.
I think part of it is like can't you make so there's aspects of Silicon Valley that you say like, hey, this is like pulled from the sunnah, right? Like the ability to like take risk and venture capital, like you said, like these are pulled from like Islamic ideology and things we've seen. Can't you say the same thing about, I don't know, Dallas or Chicago or any other like metropolitan area? Can't you just like handpick a couple and be like, hey,
Sure.
the framework of this is sunnah.
I mean, the framework of like them like building a ton of masajid and beautiful masjids and having amazing imams is there.
Yeah,
but
that's
like,
Dallas, you know.
Sure, yeah. But
sorry.
I was gonna say the problem with that is it doesn't build power.
Okay.
It doesn't build leverage. Like that's the difference. That's a big difference. And so we hate on Silicon Valley, but like that's the only way. Like, in my opinion, that's the only way to success for the Muslim ummah. Like that, at least that's what I believe. And that's why Qatar and Saudi and these guys are investing in technology over. They're not investing in imams. Like no, again, may Allah bless our imams.
They buy them out.
yeah. I mean, but they don't invest in that. Like
Yeah.
they don't think that that's the way to do it. I personally, again, I tried it. I tried to do that for 30 years, and I don't believe. Like I think the wind is blowing against me. So like that's not gonna save our ummah. Like you're not gonna have. We're waiting. We have we're waiting for Imam Mahdi syndrome, like the ummah does. We're waiting for someone to come save us, and I'm not going to say nobody can come save us because he's going to come. Like if you believe it, you believe it. I believe it.
Don't we have to do our part for him?
But we have to
come?
do our part exactly.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it bothers me when we were just talking before this about eschatology. Like I actually really dislike when people talk about eschatology because you're telling me that you know when Dajjal is coming better than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Yeah.
or better than the Sahaba. Like really? And so many people will say, based off the numbers and whatever it is, he's coming in the year 2036. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, come on, man. Like, come on. Like, even if he comes in 2036, who cares?
Are you ready?
Yeah, like, and like to be honest, in that specific scenario, and like in the whole Dajjal scenario,
Yeah.
like I honestly believe that most of us won't recognize him.
100%.
Like I'm talking about like the people like, because we all know the stories of like Kafir is on his show on his forehead, he's got a grape of an eye and whatever it is, and he'll cut the person in half. Like we know those stories, but it doesn't mean that we will be ready for him.
Well, it's this. I was talking to my coworker who's not Muslim on Thursday. About some of these concepts. We're talking about mortgage, right? The root word of mortgage essentially relates to a death contract, right?
Wait, really?
Yeah, mortgatory. Mort means death, right? It's a death contract. And I was talking to them, I was like, man, we really estimate, or we're overconfident on our ability to recognize bad deals. Point being, Palantir. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, right? Palantir is named after the evil eye in Lord of the Rings.
SubhanAllah.
Right? You can have like the clearest signs in front of you and you still will not see it. And I mean, even with like Gaza, for example, right? I'm like, you see what I'm seeing? And you still don't think this way blows my mind, right? So I think sometimes like, yeah, I'm not confident that I would be able to spot it.
SubhanAllah.
So
but the answer is just do what you can now. That's
prepared.
the answer. That's how you be
prepared.
prepared. You don't just buy a one-way ticket to Medina and then just wait.
So I have a few questions because I think it's one is, you've brought up this this main concept that is leverage, right? What does leverage here mean in like your thesis here, right? And how does having businesses fulfill that?
So when Umar radiallahu anhu, when the name was mentioned, Umar radiallahu anhu, to the non-Muslims, they trembled in fear. That's leverage. That's it.
A great answer.
Yeah.
So for me, this is where I get a little doubtful, right? Qatar gave how much money to the Trump administration?
$1 trillion, I think, or something?
Yeah, a lot. And in the next few months later, they get bombed, right?
SubhanAllah.
And nothing goes past the great old USA not giving a green light on something. And so for me, this is where I'm kind of like I do understand the importance of having wealth and businesses, and I think that definitely gets you a spot in the room to speak. But when I see that amount of money, right, going in one direction, nice little plane, everything, and then boom.
I never said money in my categories, by the way.
Well, I guess,
but I think it's important to talk about.
Because I guess clarify that then, right? Because my and maybe our listeners may do the same mistake as me here. Is that, when I think business, I'm thinking money. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, and this is, I think, the trap that I fell into also
Yeah.
when we first started Friday and just after October 7th, January. I think we need money. That was like the thesis. Elon Musk has money. He's bought out. Yeah. Like he's the richest man.
$500 billion now.
Yeah, I mean, he cannot say anything about, like, he just posted about, like, Islamophobia, xenophobia. It doesn't mean anything. It's like, where's anti-Semitism? Like, it's not there. Like, these people are, like, slaves. They're enslaved. It's
crazy.
Like, the more rich you are, the more you are enslaved. Like, the fact that I have the guts to talk to you guys about this, like, I wouldn't be in that. Maybe, again, Allahu A'lam, maybe Allah protect all of us. But if I were made the richest man in the world, they might have gotten something on me. They might have. Not to get too disgusting, but Glenn Greenwald, if you know who that is, he's the reporter he was for The Guardian. He's the one who broke the story with Edward Snowden.
Oh yeah.
There was a Muslim brother, Murtaza Hussain, was also involved, mashallah. So he has his own Glenn Greenwald, he's like independent media now, and like Israel posted something about him doing something very suggestive with a prostitute, or like he's gay, whatever. And he's Jewish, by the way, because he's been talking about Palestine, pro-Palestinian, and his response was amazing. Like they basically trying to blackmail him to shut up. Because they're like, hey, we exposed his sex tape or whatever it was, whatever it was, and he's like, so what? Like these guys are blackmailing me. Like he just straight up went after them. Like that to me that's leverage. We can't even do that.
Yeah,
we as Muslims can't do that because we will fear for our life. And mashallah, may Allah bless all our brothers and sisters that like quit loudly or posted something and got fired. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, Allah, if you do something for the sake of Allah, Allah will not let it go without giving you something better. That's a guarantee. Mm-hmm. That's guaranteed. So when we were talking, one thing I want to close the loop of what we said about rizq, and we talked about that thing about having children, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. It only works if you believe it.
and it's so true though, right? Because even from, I'm sure everyone has their own TikTok and Instagram algorithms, and unfortunately, I get some hoo-ha stuff that sometimes trickles in. but the idea is will it be manifesting or dua? Like you sincerely have to believe it. But in the Quran, Allah tells us, right? Like I am.
It's guaranteed to be listened.
I am what you believe.
Yeah.
Right. And so much is that one of the biggest things that transformed my brain is that. The fact fear is something that is purely created in your head.
SubhanAllah.
Like literally just purely created in your head. So if you just put all of your faith and like courage and anchor it on Allah, and for me it always goes back to, I think I mentioned it several times, but even if it's you versus the whole world, but if Allah's on your side, infinity versus how many doesn't matter.
SubhanAllah.
Right?
Or another way to put that is take yourself out of the situation.
Yeah.
Right? If you can see yourself kind of like in 3 dimensions, like, oh man, like, why am I getting scared? Because it makes no sense. But to go back to leverage.
Yeah.
So what happened, like who has the power right now? Google, Meta, TikTok, etc. And again, like the IDF or just generally Israel has power that when Like they will. It's so funny because the money they are spending, like on our politicians or whatever it is, on like the ads or on their their propaganda, comes from the United States. It's not even their money. It's like we send them $100 billion. They take that money and propagandize and mess up our country.
Yeah.
So like that is leverage. They don't have the money. We spend more. We as an ummah spend more in zakat annually than Jews have money.
Repeat that one more time.
We Muslims spend more in zakat than Jews have money. So that means that 2.5% of our wealth is worth more than all of Jewish money.
That's gonna be like we're gonna post that clip like 8 times.
So like AIPAC spends $100 million per year on our elections. $100 million.
That's actually not a lot.
We as an ummah it's been estimated anywhere from 200 billion to 800 billion annually is we spend on zakat. That's orders of magnitude bigger than $100 million. Mm-hmm. And again, remember, their money is coming from the United States. Our money is ours, or our oil or whatever it is, right? But it's ours though. And so again, us making money does not solve the problem. What we need to do is get people together. We already have Muslim billionaires. We already have Muslims that are killing it. We already have Muslims that can have leverage. They just don't. They choose not to. That's what we need to do. So the vision of Friday is to bring that together. So we're doing a lot of things that are in public. So in public, we are, getting founders together. We're having a fund. Those are all very publicly facing things. We're also having a lot of closed door conversations. That again, being in public doesn't make any sense. And so, but again, that's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Like I'm literally following their playbook. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot. I didn't even talk about my startup journey, but like when we were in an accelerator, there was one of our partners was Jewish, and he was Israeli. And most of the partners actually were Israeli. One of them used to wear an IDF shirt every single time he would go on Zoom with us. He would always be wearing Israeli Defense Force. SubhanAllah, right? But they gave us great advice. But I learned the methodology of how they invest in people. They align incentives. One thing they do for incentives is, hey, if you want to be my customer, like I'm a no-name startup and you're Google. Like, why would you join? Why would you like pay for my startup services? I'll give you 0.5% of my company. What do you think? And all of a sudden, you as the VP are now incentivized to go push Google to give them a $100,000 contract, and you get 0.5%. Mm-hmm. Now, is that a conflict of interest, or is that halal or not? That's not for me to. That's not really the point. The point is that that's what they do.
Well, it's in the book like Negotiating the Yes. It was a sales book that I had to read back in the day, but it's sometimes you just have to figure out a way how does it how can we sweeten the pot.
Well, so in negotiations is an important concept for us Muslims. Mm-hmm. So we think everything is a transaction. Mm-hmm. Even like, I'm not going to get into marriage, but marriage has become such a transaction that marriage is broken today. Unfortunately, it's broken. May Allah bless our brothers and sisters who are single and give them a pious and beautiful spouse. And so, it's hard. It's hard. Like, I don't envy you. May Allah make it easy. Like that's the best we can do for each other. But the incentive, like what we've done is we've actually made the things into transactions. The way you're supposed to, the best negotiator is the one that actually transforms the mindset of the negotiation. And it's instead of me, and this is, by the way, for those of us who are married, this is very good advice that I learned so that I don't get in trouble with my wife anymore. And alhamdulillah. And it's really helped. Usually what happens is in a negotiation, it's me versus you. Or against in a spousal argument, which we've all gotten into for those of us who are married, it's husband versus wife. You didn't, the wife will say you didn't take out the trash. You didn't, you put the, you made the bathroom dirty, whatever. And then you're just like, well, you're always nagging me. And then it becomes a you versus, he versus she, whatever, right? That's naturally what happens. The best negotiators are the ones that transform it to, it's me and you versus the problem. And so what we've done is the problem is that, again, you don't take out the trash. So if the best way to in that relationship is reframe it is like, honey, like, I noticed that you didn't take out the trash, and again, sometimes it's hard to do. How do we get you to take out the trash more? Like that's a very different conversation than you didn't take out the trash, because then you just naturally get defensive, right? So if you transform the negotiation, subhanAllah, it transforms. So that's actually I learned that in business, by the way, in startups.
Well, it's also when I was a behavioral health coach, one of the things is identify the problem, but don't make the person the problem.
Correct.
So,
the same concept.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like, but this is exactly what we need to do as an ummah to work together.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's always like, okay, I'm gonna do a deal with you guys, and I want you to pay me $1,000, but then you're like, I'll give you 500, and it's like, oh, 750, and then the 600. That's not that's not a good negotiation. What it should be is, okay, what are we both trying to get out of this, right? I want you to pay me, but I want you to give you value. So what is the value that you want? And then we kind of work backwards from there. That's a much different conversation than 500, 600, 550, 551. And that's what naturally happens. So. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I also think there's like an aspect of like keeping a relationship transactional versus like trying to unify it and align to a long-term strategy. Like two very different things, completely different things. I think like, you brought up like an example of marriage, and it's a very, very, very good example because oftentimes like you can't control the other person. Even in a business, you can't control everything about them. But if you can just say those key words to remind, like, hey, this is how the framing should be. Hey, we're unified on this approach. How do we attack this problem? I think it makes a monumental change in just the tone and underlying effectiveness of reaching a plausible outcome, right?
Totally.
I want to turn a little bit. So I'm gonna change a little bit of the topic. I want to talk a little bit about Shastri, you, and then who's the other person that's
her name is Noor.
Noor, okay. Yeah. Noor, I want to talk a little bit about you three and Friday and how you guys operate in terms of like what are the roles and responsibilities of you guys, like what are you guys trying to I mean, you talked a lot about what you're trying to accomplish, but like more tactically, like what would you say is like a form of success for you guys in like the next 2.5 years?
Oh man, there's a lot of like initiatives we want to try. So again, as a founder, it's all about experimentation, trying things, failing, trying the next thing, and see kind of what sticks. So again, generally the roles are, I'd say like Shastri is like, mashallah, like really into the fund. He's the one who kind of helped start it out and very instrumental in that part. Noor is very into community. Like she's doing a really great job of, she like her events are like stellar and my events are like ghetto, right? I don't even want to compare. And my wife will look at it. She's like, oh my God, men can't do anything when it comes to events. And I'm kind of like
we're going to attack the problem together.
Yeah.
Hey, yours has heart, right?
Yeah, mashallah. And I'd say like I'm more of like the free for all kind of like I don't even know, generalist, let's say. So I'm on the fund, right? So like I'm also like bringing deals and writing memos and all that type of thing. I'm also like doing all the events. Like I'm doing all the events in SF. We also have different initiatives that we're trying to roll out. And so I want, let me just say like the success metric for me, it's not a metric, but the success for me, like in a year, 2.5 years, whatever it is that Friday becomes a decentralized community where people just do whatever the heck they want. And we just have, and they just try different things, and we just like help you with Friday. Like I think that's like ideally what I want to do. It's not easy to do that because again, people don't feel a sense of ownership because again, like the community is a nonprofit. It's a 501c3. It's a nonprofit, but the fund is for profit. But you can't incentivize equity. Like we don't even have like that much money to even give, so we can't even like pay people. So everyone's doing this kind of out of goodwill, right, for the community. And inshallah, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a way. Like let's make find ways to make regular streams of revenue, so that way we can bring people on and incentivize them through money. Like we can pay them. So a bunch of different initiatives that we've been trying. One is we are working with something called Apricot International. So Apricot is a company, a nonprofit that hires people from Gaza and just the West Bank and just generally Muslims in war-torn areas. And so we're basically partnering with them. And because we have Muslim founders in our network, they have talent, and a lot of people need talent, especially that are cheaper. But also hungry, and mashallah, the people in those areas are very, very hungry. So and it's good for the world. So like I think it aligns really well with Friday's mission. So we're partnering with them. They also have another company called Principled Careers, where people who are sick of working for companies that they're not aligned with, genocidal, whatever it is, can basically apply to this, and they're a headhunter that will find you companies that are more aligned with their values. So whether it's a startup or it could be something like Replit, like founded by a Palestinian brother. And so like those type of initiatives are some examples. I'm also probably not gonna get into this in this chat, but like we're trying to think about how to use zakat for good, because I think zakat has not made an impact. It's actually kind of made a negative impact in our world, and that's not the point. The point of zakat was actually is to
made a negative impact.
Yeah, well, it's not that zakat itself is the problem. It's that we are the problem. We don't spend it in the right way. So two examples would be you give it to your governments, and they'll not use it correctly. They're like, unfortunately, I've talked to government leaders that have told me that it's totally squandered. So like that money goes nowhere.
Sad.
It's sad, but it's true. Yeah. Number two, people don't pay it, right? That's a big issue. Like, how many people would you say like what percent of Muslims like know how to calculate it correctly and give it on the right time, the right date? Yeah, exactly. It's like very low. Yeah. And number three is the people we do give zakat to. The whole point of zakat is to get you out of your situation. So if you're below the nisab, then let me give you some money so you can kind of pull yourself
What's
out.
Nisam?
Nisab is like the amount that you need to own for one calendar year for you to give zakat. So right now it's the value of gold or silver of a certain amount, and so a lot of scholars use the nisab of gold, which is I think $9,000. I think silver is like a few thousand. So these people have to have less than $9,000 of money for a whole calendar year. And again, most people in like are paycheck to paycheck in these, especially in these countries. So they're zakat eligible. But so the problem is, what we do is we'll give it to the individuals, and they'll start relying on zakat as a salary. So they'll say like, Arshan's going to give me my $1,000 this year, and so I'm gonna stop working. Like I was hustling before and I needed money, so Arshan out of goodwill gave me zakat. But then what I'll do is that $1,000 coming every year, every Ramadan's coming. So I'll call him a month before. Hey, Arshan, how you doing?
You're trying to create an incentive structure where they can actually skill up while they're taking the zakat when they need it, but also try to find a way to get them out.
Exactly. The goal of zakat is to get them out. That's the goal. That's why it's fard on us. I mean, obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded it, but like everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded for us is actually good for society. It's not bad. Like eating pork is actually bad for society. Drinking alcohol, as we've seen, is horrible for society. Not having a nuclear family is horrible for society. That the right has now like totally went after the left for that reason, for that exact reason. So everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, even fasting, is a cleansing our body, is good for us. There's nothing that Allah gives us that harms us. Nothing. Everything that's halal for us, everything that's that gives us reward, not a single thing is harmful. You may think that fasting, but it's not. It's actually not. People are intermittent. And that's the thing. If we had done better marketing, we would have owned intermittent fasting. We would have owned like halal could have been free range, and organic and non-GMO. Like we could have owned that market, but we don't. We're not good at marketing, right? We didn't own like Brian Johnson, the intermittent fasting every day. We could have owned that market. We still people have no idea. Like I tell people I'm intermittent fasting when I'm fasting because they get it better. Right, and they're more like respected, let's say, and so with like zakat, we're trying to figure out a way. Like, what if we can give money to people that will, let's say like in Gaza, for example, we'll give the person, let's say like 20K or some big number, and that's like their yearly salary. That money's yours, but this person's an engineer who's hungry to work, and so what if we can give them access to a Muslim startup who needs the talent, and we'll charge the Muslim startup like $500 a month, which is again maybe he costs $3,000 a month. And that Muslim now gets basically subsidized talent for way cheaper. Because Muslim startup, I mean, especially at the early stage, you don't have money. You don't have 3K to play with, but you have maybe a 500. And that helps you make the MVP. Inshallah, if that startup takes off or makes a little bit of money, then you've actually lifted the Muslim economy by doing that. Right? And then that person from Gaza will actually get smarter and learn to work at a Silicon Valley startup or whatever it is. And then they may even go to a different company or they might start their own. Right? And so you just kind of, what if we did something like that? So like we've been kind of playing around with that type of idea. We've also been playing around with not a conference, but like a retreat for people who want to kind of get like a deep dive in, maybe for second time founders or different type of things. And so, but the thing is, all of these things that we're doing are like I'm not leading them. That's what I don't want to lead them. Like I don't have the skill to lead a lot of these things. And the three of us may not have the skills to lead them. But that's why the vision is decentralization. So. Like again, like whenever people are doing podcasts, I'm like, hey, you guys just want to do it with Friday? Like I have no problem you owning it. And I think one incentive structure we found that has is starting to work well is, hey, you take all the profits. Like this, you become the CEO of this, and you take all of it. Maybe give us like 5% as like a donation.
We were talking about this yesterday. Like I think we need to move more of like chairman structures, right? Like have a captain. And then you have all these arms. Like, okay, you're operating this, you're operating this, you're operating this, but we're all in one umbrella, more or less, right? Like, you can have, like, Alphabet, Google, right? Yeah. Google has Waymo, and like all these other things, right? But it gives everyone a sense of autonomy, but at the end, it roots back to something, right? Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Friday.
Right.
So, yeah, so like the thing is like alhamdulillah, I don't think any of us have well, I do, but the rest don't. I'll say that. Like, mashallah, my other team members, they don't have an ego.
Yeah.
And like we're trying to do what's best for the ummah, in our opinion. And so again, if someone else wants to build another fund, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. Yeah. Come, please build it. We actually need more funds. One initiative I forgot to mention is we're building a VC cabal. Where we're getting people who are pro-Palestinian or Muslim, and we're putting them all in a group chat, or not even a group chat. We have like an email list for those who don't want to be in a group chat, and we share deals with each other. So we need to take over cap tables. We do.
Yeah.
Like let's leverage also.
Well, I think the other thing on top of that is also like being very principled, right? Like one of my brother's friend, he's like a GI doc, and majority like at this conference or for GI, this is like a month or two after October 7th. They had sent out this email, addressing everything but the lives of Palestinians. And of course, a good majority at this GI conference are Muslim. And they wrote a nice little email to them letting them know, and that pretty much a majority of them are like backing out because of this. Instantly, they mentioned Palestinian lives.
Yeah, again, incentives.
Yeah.
Incentives. That's
but
leverage.
also speaking up on it too.
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're like. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it depends. So if you're gonna, like Sean McGuire, if you guys remember what happened with him. So like he was talking about Zohran Mamdani, he was saying he's an Islamist, he's racist things. These are bigots. These are straight up bigots. These people are. And we spoke up, and nothing happened. Like I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but like there's a website called SeanMcGuire.fyi that we went after. We had signatures. We sent emails. It didn't do anything.
Yeah,
it didn't. We don't have leverage there. Like Sean McGuire at the end of the day was like a seed investor in SpaceX.
Yeah.
Like he has leverage and we don't.
He out leveraged.
He out leveraged us.
Yeah,
Keith or Boy. I mean, even like Guillermo, the one from Vercel that just happened last week.
Oh yeah.
Alhamdulillah, we're starting to speak with our wallets. How many people cancel Vercel?
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
I think this is the beginning of the end of Zionism in VC. And Guillermo was the reason why.
Well, I will say this. Like I had a friend who works at like a very large company, and they're like experimenting with stuff in AI, and he had spoken out about their team thinking about using Vercel, and he had spoken about, actually, let's use like Replit or something instead because of this reason, and their team ended up going that direction.
Mashallah.
Right?
So like that leverage, even though he raises Series F, we call it Series G for genocide. But I mean, he raised it at $9 billion valuation.
Nice little stamp,
In my opinion, this was all by design.
Yeah.
Like, these people are not stupid. Just remember
sure.
that. Like this is straight up by design. I mean, Netanyahu was rumored to give offer $100 million to Charlie Kirk before he's killed.
Yeah.
Right. As an example, like I'm sure Netanyahu was playing some games here.
Right.
But again, it doesn't matter. Like they're losing power. They're losing leverage.
Well, it's very much, I don't know if you've read the book Black Shirts and Reds and the Rise of Rational Fascism, but it essentially talks about like the idea of like war contracts was actually created by the Nazis, and the American businesses were very much in bed with the Nazis. IBM, Ford, so many of them were doing businesses with them, right? And so, and to this point, even in our modern era, right, and the Israelis and these companies, like we're very much embedded into their systems of doing business.
100%.
And it's only until there's an alternative, and on top of it, there is a growth in social consciousness that people feel empowered. Like, you know what? There is another option. I'm going to go that way because my social conscience is actually increasing too now.
Yeah.
And we kind of started seeing remnants of consumer habits changing. With, at least for me, back in like middle school in 04, 05 with Tom's shoes, right? You buy a pair and some kid in Africa will get a pair of shoes too, right? And I think, inshallah, alhamdulillah, I think we are seeing that transition happening more and more because there's an alternative option, and sometimes they're better too.
So at the end of the day, you need, and this is kind of what we teach like with Friday, and it bothers me whenever people come to me and say, I'm building this but for Muslims, or I'm building this that's ethical. Like people don't switch because it's ethical. At the end of the day, they don't. You might get an initial uptick of people, but like retention, like you're objectively a worse product because you don't have 10 years of building and research and user experience, etc., and funding. So by definition, you're actually a worse product. So why would I switch?
Yeah.
So I might use like this alternative TikTok or LinkedIn or whatever you call it, or Gmail, but I'll switch right back to Gmail once I find like, oh, actually Gmail is way better, man.
I think it's one of those things, it causes enough to shift. Like, for example, I used to be a diehard Aura Ring user. I had it since like Gen 1. I used it for my Ironman training and everything. And I think I got like 4 or 5 people buy into Aura Ring. And of course, with the Palantir deal, and people are like, "Oh, it's for the military." I'm like, it's the principle for me. So for that, I'm not going to use it, right? But then I'm like, I still need to track my date, like my health, right? So I was just looking up, and then I'm like, oh, there's RingCon. Let me look into this, and it's more affordable. It's better, and just make that decision way easier. And when I go tell other people, I don't even go into like the Palantir. So I was like, this is a better ring, period. And they're like, well, you've always had Aura. You always put it on your store. I'm like, yeah, and I'm telling you now, this is better, and I don't even get a kickback from RingCon. With Aura, I was.
So the way generally startups are built,
Yeah.
is that people work at a company, they see a flaw in that company, and they go improve it 10x. Like that's generally how startups are built.
Yeah, because 1x is not going to be enough to move.
1x is not enough to move user behavior, right? So we need that same mindset. Go work at Google and go build a better Google then. But you don't come up to me and say, I'm going to build the same search engine.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. You have to build something 10x better. Like what is 10x better than Google search? OpenAI, like AI, LLMs. That's why LLMs took off. Because it's just way better than the experience of search. So that's how we as Muslims need to think. We need to stop thinking alternative tech and like, let me just build a Me Too product. Let me build a 10x product. That's going to solve our problem. Because then you'll have the masses switch. And mashallah, and Amjad is the example of this for Replit.
Yeah.
I mean, he built a 10x product. Like his product is better.
Yeah.
And some people may agree or disagree, and it's fine. But I mean, there's plenty of people that like he made the migration so easy. Like the incentive was so easy to move from Vercel to Replit. But again, I think whenever I'm hearing pitches, like most pitches I'm hearing are, I'm just going to build Eventbrite for Muslims. I'm going to build Quran this, and I'm like, those are not 10x better products. I'm sorry. Like an app is not 10x better than the Mus'haf. It's not. It's not, right? And so like. We need to stop thinking Me Too. That is going to keep us colonialized. That's a colonialism in my mind. That's a colonialized mindset. Jews don't think like that. They think 10x.
And I think it's stop going for the bar, but more so push the bar.
And again, like the example of the terabyte and like the expansion of the brain. Like I mean, Muslims in general historically were polymaths. They were not like I am a this. You know, like one of my favorite when we were studying madrasa, one of the first books you read for fiqh, it's called Mukhtasar al-Quduri. So Mukhtasar al-Quduri means like the abridged book of al-Quduri. Al-Quduri is the Imam Hafizullah, rahimahullah. He was a Hanafi fiqh scholar and it was about Hanafi fiqh. But the thing is, his name al-Quduri means the pot maker. So this guy wrote an abridged version of Hanafi fiqh that all of us read for the last 1,000 years, but he was a pot maker. That means he's a polymath.
Yeah.
Like he was very good at different things. And so all of these people, I think Imam Razi, he was alim. These people were, they had multiple like expertise. And for like, again, colonialist mindset dictates that you only have one. This is not true.
Yeah.
And the proof of that is these colonialists or these Christians or Jews, they don't memorize the Quran. They don't memorize their Bible. How many Christians you know that memorize the Bible? I think they used to, but never historically has it been a thing.
There is a small rise in it now. It's very interesting.
But which version?
Now. Well, I mean, that's,
which language?
That's the thing. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
What's funny, even with King James.
Wait, I didn't know that. Why is there a rise in it?
A lot of it has to be like evangelical Christians mostly. I think there is this sense of, it's actually, I don't want to say funny. I don't know what the right adjective is, but it's, they know the idea that Muslims memorize the Quran. And it's this idea that, you see apologetics debates, and I think it's just
and they'll see Muslims always like verbatim say it, but the guy has to open the book.
Exactly.
You look like a fool, right?
And it's gotten to the point where Muslim, and like for me, I don't have the Quran memorized, inshallah, one day, but I can pull out biblical verses much faster than like, I would honestly, I go on the ground saying 90% of Christians.
I mean, you can also like every Muslim can pull Qul Huwallahu Ahad or Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim.
Right.
99, 100% of Muslims can do that, right? Which again, a Christian cannot even pull out one passage. Vast majority of them.
Yeah. Or even like I think the only one they can maybe do is the Lord's Prayer, but even then, that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. So like, there was actually a Hindu scholar.
Yeah.
Or he was a scholar.
Yeah.
But not a theological scholar.
Right.
But he was Hindu, and he was studying history, and he said that, in his opinion, in the 14th century. The Muslims were on their way to go to space.
Whoa.
In the 14th
In the 14th century, 1300s.
Yeah.
They were on their way to go to space. The reason they didn't go is because they were fighting each other.
Because they were fighting.
They were fighting each other.
Yeah.
But why did he think they were about to go to space? And his reason was because most people memorize the Quran. This is but it's not a Muslim saying this, right? This is a Hindu saying this.
Yeah.
Right? And he said, when you memorize the Quran, when you memorize, you learn to learn. And that's why algebra, chemistry, coffee, all these things, alchemy, and everything, the world is round, is like a concept for Muslims. Like, all these came from Muslims because their brains were expanded to so many things, and they were ulama and everything.
And
right?
I mean, I think, I'm just riffing here at this point, but one thing that the derivative to a lot of what you were saying is this idea of incentive, right? This altruistic thought of God or just being good for the sake of God, etc. But do you feel like in that process, in that journey that a lot of those people at the time were going through this, memorizing the Quran, etc., they were kind of, yes, it builds discipline, but it builds all these things. But their incentive to learn and grow becomes purely for the sake of Allah. And you're recognizing at that point, Allah is rewarding me for even just for trying and being consistent. So now everything can become a form of, worship in a way. If like studying or something, I'm doing it for the sake of Allah and I'm being consistent for the sake of Allah, I'm getting good deeds for that. And you're kind of like hacking this dunya mindset where the dunya is telling you, oh, you have to do it because there's a dunya outcome. And if you don't get this outcome, all your effort that you did, you failed. 6 years of trying your PhD and your dissertation didn't go through because humans were deciding, you failed. But now you kind of hack this mindset where like, actually, you're succeeding the whole time. Do you feel like that's kind of what that also kind of, cultivates in that journey?
I think, yes, I would say yes. I think generally, like the incentive is also cultural or like what's happening, like what everyone else is doing. Like that's part of incentives.
Yeah.
Right. Like if my friends are all trying to be doctors, like that's kind of what a lot of they see. All of us are pre-med at one point because of that. For that reason alone, right. Nobody told you to be a doctor. Like nobody sat you down and said you were going to be a doctor.
Well, everyone's doing it. But
everyone's doing it. So you started. Then you're like, that my incentive is to just do what everyone follow the herd. But one thing that's interesting about the Muslims, Baghdad, the way Baghdad was built was very interesting. And again, the way cities are built today are just odd, like I'd say. But the way Baghdad was built was Bayt al-Hikmah was in the middle. Was literally in the middle. Bayt al-Hikmah is the house of wisdom. It was a library actually. It's one of the first libraries in the world. And that's where all these people studied.
It was also one of the trade capitals, if not the entire world, and so you had a bunch of philosophies and ideas always coming through, and people
exactly.
Were
but everyone would go to Bayt al-Hikmah.
Yes,
right. And so the incentive, because like the way the city was a round city, and like everything was around it.
Do you play video games?
So like Assassin's Creed, probably. Yeah.
Mirage. Have you played it?
I've not played the new one.
You need to play it. Yeah. I don't care if you play games or not.
I love
because they rebuilt the entire city. It's absolutely incredible, and it's actually really cool because in the game they have the adhan in the game, and you'll see people in the game just going to salah.
SubhanAllah.
You can have a mode in the game where you can turn off whenever the adhan goes off. The game will turn off the music.
No way. Okay, mashallah.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Sorry,
that's
cool. Throw that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, we could talk forever and ever. That is without a doubt. Arslan, thank you so much for joining us here at the Caravan Podcast. I think it's been incredible to kind of have these type of dialogues and really challenge ourselves, and not only being able to see the problem, but being able to figure out how to ally yourself with your Muslim brothers and sisters and figuring out how can we solve this collectively. And, I can't thank you enough of, doing the work that you're doing, and may Allah put barakah and goodness in it and allow you to succeed, because it's for all of us, and I can see that in the way you speak about these, incentives. So I guess the biggest takeaway for me, align, what was it? Show me your incentives,
I'll show you the
outcome. And I think it's very important to know, to be aligned on that vision. So Arslan, co-founder of Friday Ventures and so many more things in the future, inshallah. But Jazakallah khairan, and thank you for joining the Caravan Podcast.
Wa iyyakum ajma'een, for all the ummah. May Allah bless all of us and give us tawfiq and make it easy for us.
Ameen.